All right, so in this one, we're talking about area of irregular shapes. So what do we mean by irregular shapes? Well, if you look at this first example here, this is an irregular shape, right? It's not just a square or a triangle or one of your basic shapes. If you look at it, it's a couple of different shapes added together. So we have to find the area of each shape individually and then add them all up to find that total number or that total area. Okay? So looking at this, the first thing we're going to do is break it into different shapes. So if I draw here, this is our first shape, okay? The rectangle. And then if we use this line here, that also breaks the rest of this up into a second rectangle and then a triangle here. So do you see those shapes? So we have a rectangle, another rectangle, and a triangle. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to find the area of each individual shape. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the area of the first shape. So I'm going to label this number 1. So this will be number 1. And the area of a rectangle, if you remember, is length times width. So this is the length, and this is the width. So now we put those in for the area. And then don't forget, we always label. So our first area is 12 centimeters squared. Our second one is also a rectangle. So it's also length times width. But if you look here, on this side, we only have this one. But we can actually use the height of the triangle because that's how long or how tall it is. So we're going to use 8. And then the 7 tells us how wide it is. So we're going to use those two numbers. So area equals 7 times 8. And that's our second shape. And 7 times 8 is 56. Again, label centimeters squared. Okay, last one. Last one's our triangle. Is our triangle. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 base height. 1/2. So we have 1/2 our base times our height, which our height we can replace with this 8. But we need to find our base still. So keep in mind, we know from here to here is 7 centimeters because that's what it was up there. We also know from here to here is 3 centimeters because that's what it was up there. So if we add these together, that's going to be 10 centimeters. So if this whole bottom is 13 and from here to here is 10, that leaves really 3 for us. So that means this is 3 centimeters. The base is 3. So now we can put that in our calculator. 1/2 of 3 times 8, or 12 centimeters squared. Okay, now that we have each individual area, we have to add them up. So I'm going to write that as the total area. So our total area is equal to area 1 plus area 2 plus area 3. So let's plug those values in. So total area is 12. And then area 2 is 56. And then area 3 is also 12. So we plug that into our calculator. So 12 plus 12 plus 56 is 80. And don't forget, it's centimeters squared. So now this is the area of this irregular shape, of this whole shape. Okay? All right, so let's look at the next one. So, again, let's break it into shapes. I see a semicircle here. So that's 1. I see a rectangle here, which is 2. And then I see a really large triangle. Here's 3. Okay, so let's find the areas of each individual one. Now, this first one looks like a half of a circle, right? So it's a half of a circle. So normally we would use for a circle pi r squared, right? But again, that's for a full circle. If we're taking half the circle, we should take half of the area. So a semicircle is 1/2 pi r squared. So 1/2 pi, it tells us our radius here, which is 5 squared. So our area is 1/2 of pi times 5 squared. And when you put that in the calculator, that should give you 39.3. Again, we label inches squared. All right, the second one is just a rectangle. So length times width. Okay. So we have our width here. We have our width. But do we have our length? Do we have our length? Well, maybe, because we have 2 and 2. And don't forget the radius is 5. So this is 5. And then from the middle to the side's 5. So then our whole length is 2 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2, or 14. Okay, so again, we did that by our radius was 5 inches. A half a circle has a diameter, which is double the radius. Then we added up the other 2 outside sides. Okay, so now do 14 times 3, which is, when you do that, is 42 inches squared. Next, we have to find the area of the last shape, or the triangle, which is 1/2 base times height. Remember, we said our base was this bottom, which we said earlier was 14. And then it tells you your height of 6. And then half of that is our area. So that means our area then is 1/2 times 14 times 6, which when you put that in the calculator gives you 42 inches squared. Now, it wasn't enough just to find the 3 separate areas. Remember, it's the area of the entire shape. So we have to find our total area, which, remember, is your first area plus your second plus your third area. So we have 39.3 roughly plus 42 plus 42, which gives you a total area of, plug that in your calculator, you should get about 123.3 inches squared. Okay? All right, so let's go to the next page. So, looking at this, we are not going to do these bottom 2. So we're not going to do this bottom 2. If you want to try, you can certainly message me and I'll let you know what they are. Okay, but we're not going to do this. We're going to focus on this one up here. I want you to solve this one on your own, but I'm going to break it up for you. Okay, you should break this into shape 1, this and shape 2, and then this will be shape 3. Okay, so I want you to try that. When you're done, unpause. Okay, so hopefully you were able to figure out to get this bottom here is you did that 6 plus that 4. Okay, and that's how I got that 10 there. And once you had that 10, you could bring it down. And then you just added the 2 7s. And that's how I got 24 there. Okay, so then you just did length times width for all of them. And once you got those, you had to find your total area, which would be 242. All right, and that's it.